you haven't been here in the last, I don't know, few weeks, we've been to be continued. So, I guess just get the CDs or YouTube or Facebook or something. There's a lot of ways you can get it. So go back last week, 2 weeks, I don't know. I've been to be continued now 2 or 3 times, so I'm just going to keep on to be continued. So I'll try to catch up a little bit here, but it's basically this, finding out who we are. That the gospel really is true, that what he did really did work. He finished the job, and now, last week we talked about Peter. This statement hit me, and I didn't even think about it before I even heard it. When I heard it, you guys heard it at the same time I heard it. But it said, Peter and the boys were on the boat, and Jesus come walking on the water, right? And something inside of Peter said that if he's able to do that, if he can do that, then there must be something in me that I can do that. And so it said, Jesus, he said, you know, you guys know the story. He said, if that's really you, then bid me to come out there on the water with you. And Jesus said one word, come. And Peter walked on the water, right? And so we've just been talking about total victory and living in that place and understanding who we are because of who he is, and he is who he says he is, and that he did really take all of our sin, and there's no sin on our record. We've been given the gift of righteousness, and just what all that means now for life. Because, you know, it's about life. It's not about church. We've made it about church. We've made it all about church, and who can have the most successful churches. And, you know, I'm not totally against all that. I'm just saying we've made it so much about life that we've worked our fingers to the bone trying to have a good church, and really nobody but us is impressed. I don't know about you, but I mean, I'm saying I just want to, it's like I'm caught in it. I'm caught in a place now of saying, you know, preaching the gospel, Jesus' finished work. And that's all I really want to talk about. But then it's took me further and deeper into a place now that I'm living a life with God now that I want other people to be able to experience if they want it. So I have to go further into that. So last couple of weeks I've been telling you we're shifting gears, right? So we're just going further. And I think about life with God is not just saying, okay, we've prayed a prayer and we're going to get over yonder. And we've sang songs about the promised land, right? We've thought the promised land meant, well, we're going to die one day and we get to go to heaven, and we cross the River Jordan, we'll be in the promised land, right? Well, okay, but I just mean personally, I believe the promised land can be here now, that we're intended to live in it. That it was a picture in the Old Testament of a life that's possible for us. And I'm saying that if it was meant to be over yonder, and it was a picture of over yonder, would there have been enemies in the land? Would there have been territories to conquer and to take over and to occupy? I'm talking about life right now. And there's a place that if we'll find out who we are, that we can quit wandering around in the wilderness like church folk been doing, and we can go over and take over territory and occupy places that the enemy's been occupying and kick his hind end out of there. But I'm going to tell you, it's not going to come by being religious. It's going to come by finding out who we really are and what we really got. And then it's going to be even a step further than that, what that looks like, and take on our stuff and then go to walking in it. I'm not telling you about something to do or works, you know me better than that. I'm saying, but there's a place that we can just occupy. Living in it. No longer going after something. I'm no longer going after my healing. I'm no longer going after my blessing. I'm occupying it. You get what I'm saying? So I'm just talking about what's it going to take. We've been talking about that last few weeks. We're going to walk into some stuff, and we're going to find out what it looks like to live in it, and we're going to make the devil sorry that he ever heard our names. I got the right bunch?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm just going to show you some stuff. Last week I said Oh gosh, I said it a lot, but one thing I said, and then I said, there's my to be continued. Remember that? I said, you're going to have to prove it. We talked about last week how much power there is in what you believe. Believing. You believe Him, and you've agreed with Him. And when you agree with Him, you loan your authority to Him that He gave to us. And who? It's like, remember the voices? Man, I spent 2 weeks. Man is, I explained all what man is, broke that down, and how God gave man authority. Man has a body. He is a spirit. He lives in a body. He has a mind. And so it's illegal for a spirit only to operate in the earth. Not because he's incapable, not because he's weak, but God set it up. His own word made it illegal for him, just as a spirit, to operate in the earth. That's why he had to become a man. Because only a man had authority to come and undo what the enemy tricked a man into doing. Right? So God became a man and did all that He did and gave man's authority back to Him. Now God is wanting to partner with us so that Jesus was the body that made God legal to operate in the earth, right? Jesus was the body that made God legal to operate in the earth. Now we're the body that makes God legal to operate in the earth. The church, the bride, we're not known as the body of Jesus. We're known as the body of Christ. We're the body, the embodiment of a God-man walking in this earth. God is on one side trying to talk to us and get us to agree and believe with His agenda, so that if we agree and believe in His agenda, He can then use our agreement and belief in that, taking our authority and then operating that, performing that, right? But there's also another voice that's got an agenda. You know, this stuff about, well, God's in control. Everything happens for a purpose. Hey, Sarah, Sarah. Sing another verse here, you know. God's not in total control. Not because He's weak, because of the way He set it up. God is sovereign, yes. But God is only sovereign until He speaks. Once He speaks, He's bound by His own word. He cannot violate what He has spoken. Right? So when He spoke, let them, man, have dominion in the earth. Let them rule the thing. Let them be in charge. I've given them authority. They're going to use my stuff, but it has to go through them. So God's not going to do anything in the earth without them. So them has to start believing and agreeing with the will of God and what God says, and take that on. And when we believe Him, that gives our authority, it gives God permission. Gives God permission to perform His will in the earth. Now there's another voice with an agenda. We say, oh, everything happens for a purpose. Yeah, the purpose might be because the enemy wants you dead. He's got a plan. He comes to steal, kill, and destroy. That might be the purpose. Well, I guess if I get some disease, and that's what His plan is for me. Gosh. I'm embarrassed that I used to even believe that way. Come on. It's not the will of God for me to have sickness and disease. It is not the will of God for us to have sickness and disease. It's the will of the enemy. And so he's got an agenda. And he'll come and whisper and lie and do all that he does. He's really big in religion. Get you to believe all kinds of nonsense. And if we will believe and agree with his agenda, that loans our license and gives him permission to operate in the earth. So now we're caught in this, in between, this twixt, right? So here we are. This side's fighting for our authority. This side's fighting for our authority. And whichever one we believe in, whichever one we agree with, whichever one we take into account, it gets in here. And whatever's in here comes out of our mouth. I'm telling you, the authority is in the words that you speak. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. The enemy doesn't know what you believe. He doesn't know how effective he's being until he listens to you talk. And whoever hears their will coming out of our mouth is who gives permission to operate in our life. That's my review. All right? Everybody good?
Yeah.
That's free there. All right? Now then, we got this battle going on, right? We got this fight going on, and I've seen this thing here. So now we're understanding what faith is. And so faith works, right? So faith just is happening. It's not something you do. You know, faith is not a work. Faith works. Faith works. The believer rests in believing in what grace is, and when we believe and agree with what grace says, that's when faith performs it and works, right? If it's not working, gosh, I'm trying not to be mean. The Bible says faith works. If it's not working, uh-oh. Come on, we're humble, right? We're honest. We want to learn. We want to unlearn, right? All right, I'm just going to get into it. And we've made faith a work. We just have. We've tried. I mean, I'm not saying we just have. We try to make everything work if we don't watch it. If you don't have some knothead hollering at you every Thursday, telling you know, we're just wired to go back to that all the time. And so I'm just saying. Let me just read something here. I'll tie all this together, I promise. I was going to read Peter, but I already said that, right, Peter? All right, so prove it. That's what I said. To be continued, right? So it said, okay, now we've decided, we've determined, you've agreed with what we've been saying, you've believed in that. You're believers, right? We're believing in the will of God, right? That Jesus said, as it is in heaven, right? Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. I'm believing that. I'm believing for total victory. I'm believing that it's His will for me to be living in the promised land here and now. That's what I'm agreeing with. That's what I'm believing. And because I believe that, I've given Him license to operate in that in my life. With me? Alright, so now then, the enemy's mad. Right? And so now that I said, now that you believe that, we've drawn a line, we've decided, we've made the bid, that's what we believe, right? Now watch what happens. You're going to have, I wish it wasn't this way, kind of, but it is. You're going to have to prove it. Because here's what's going to happen. The enemy's going to come and try to prove to you that you don't really believe what you say you believe. He's going to come get right in your face with it. Oh, I know you said amen on Thursday, and Jason, you know, oh yeah, but you know. Oh yeah, I know, it's cool to believe that when everybody's together and we're singing the songs and Jason gets you all wrapped up and that's good and we sing, yeah, but what about tomorrow? He's going to come and try to steal that thing from you. Let me read you this. I'll read you a couple things here. Ready? I asked one time, because believing in this total victory, you're not going to make everybody your friend. Because there's a lot of people that invested their life in defending against total victory. And we've went through stuff. And we, you know, especially if you've been in church a long time, if you've been religious, you can't stand somebody talking about total victory because we've based our theology on suffering. You've got to suffer, right? I mean, you're going to pay God back for all the... Right? Nonsense. So I said this. I said, Lord, now you're going to want me to preach this. I don't know if I'll have anybody left or not. So they're all saying, well, how can you say that it's God's will for everybody to be healed when not everybody's healed? Right? That's a legitimate question. He's not offended when we have questions. I said, you're wanting me to tell them that it's your will for everybody to be healed, but not everybody's healed. See what kind of spot I'm in? He said this, the answer's found in the parable of the seed and the sower. I'm going to be on a lifelong deal of studying that one. I give you pieces now and then. But anyway, I saw this right here. I saw this right here. Mark 4. Let's see where this is at. Mark 4. Okay, you know, Jesus, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version of it and then give you one good verse because I'm not really intending to be all in this, right? So Jesus tells the parable about the seed, the sower, and he said, sower sows seed, right? He's talking about the Word of God. Sower, it's what's happening right now. Sowing seed. He said some seed falls on good ground. Some seed falls on rocky ground. Some seed, all these different kinds of ground. Some seed sprouts up real quick and scorched by the sun. Some seed, and some seed gets in good soil and you get 30, 40, 60-fold harvest, 100-fold, and all. And so then, okay, he's putting out these parables, right? So after the deal, the boys, they come to him and said, "Why are you always talking about these parables and stuff, So Jesus said, "Okay, I'm going to explain it. I'm going to explain the different soils and what that means and what happens with the seed." Okay. So then there's this one verse. One said, this is Mark 4. I don't know how far to go back because I go clear to the beginning, but I don't want to take that much time. Oh, okay, I'll start at 13. And he said to them, "Do you not understand this parable? How will you understand all the parables? The sower sows the word." It's Jesus talking. The sower sows the word. Sower sows the word. These are the ones who are beside the road where the word is sown. And when they hear, immediately Satan comes and takes away the word which has been sown in them. In a similar way, these are the ones on whom seed was sown on rocky places, who when they heard the word immediately received it with joy. And they have no firm root in themselves, but are only temporary. Then, when affliction, right here, listen to this. Then, when affliction or persecution arises because of the word. You get this? Affliction or persecution arises because of the word. Whoa! Come on, y'all know what I'm talking about, don't you? Jason sowed in the word, talking about total victory, all these promises I'm talking to you all the time about, and then persecution comes because of the word. Now what in the world is the business with that? I'm going to tell you, the enemy does not want you to believe in this. Doesn't want you to believe in this. He's going to bankrupt hell to do everything he can do to keep you from believing this and finding out who we really are. So here, Jason's going to put some stuff out there on you, right? Immediately, it says. I mean, he's vested. Immediately. This is a big deal to him. I got to get this from... So I'm going to rise up persecution. Anybody ever been prayed for and immediately it's like it almost gets worse? Listen to this. Peter walked out there on the water, right? Peter walked out there on the water because he heard a word. He got word from Jesus. Jesus said, "Come." One word. So Peter, I told you all last week, Peter did the impossible because he believed the word that God spoke more than he did what natural circumstances would say, right? Because we all know that it's not natural for a man weighing 100 and 200 pounds, whatever Peter weighed, I don't know. But we know that it's not natural for a grown man to walk out on the water and not sink, right? Common sense, science, right? That's not normal. That's not natural. But Peter believed in something, and when Jesus said come, he put more stock. Had to. Or else, faith produced that. Peter didn't produce that. Faith in him produced that. Jesus said, what Jesus told me to do, Jesus' word, seed, was more of a reality to him than science and naturalness. And so when he stepped out of the boat, Peter went to walking on water. Because he was focused on what God had said. Focused on the word. Now watch, here comes the enemy. Right? Here comes the enemy. Immediately after the word. Peter's walking on the water. Peter's doing the impossible. He's living in it. The 11 back in the boat are probably, can you imagine? Immediately circumstances rise up. I'd say the waves got a little higher. I'd say the wind started blowing a little harder. And Peter, it says he started looking at the waves and the wind and started to sink and cried out. And Jesus had to save him, pull him back in the boat, right? I'm saying, so here's the deal. What if Peter wouldn't have let circumstances and waves and wind get his attention? Still be walking, wouldn't he? Huh? He'd been making laps around that. It's a pretty good sized lake. I've been there. He'd still be going around that thing. So I'm saying there's that battle. Anybody want to walk on water? Anybody want to see everybody they lay hands on be healed? Anybody really want? Because what Peter said, if he's able to do that, because he's able to do that, I must be able to do that. Listen, I'm going to keep stretching you. And it's not an insult to Jesus. It's not bringing Jesus down. It's making Him our idol. He's our mentor. He's our big brother. I want to be just like Him. That's not bringing Him down lower. That's raising us up where He intended us to be. The reason He came, to get us back in our position. He was the second Adam. He's demonstrating how the first Adam was intended to live life. And the rest of us. Yes. Jesus is modeling normal Christian life. Yes. Listen to this, James. Let me read you this in James. James is hard for me to find. It's so little. Let's see, James. It says James. James 1. You ready for this? This is going to get you. This is going to get you. Because here's what's happened. We've said, well, okay, I believe now. But the minute the enemy comes and puts a little pressure on, we'll say, well, I thought, it must not have worked. Or, what happened here? You know, when you're, what? Right? Come on. You come up in this, you don't know what I'm talking about probably, but I'm saying that's what happened. How many people have been prayed for and got healed and felt healed and saw healing, and then before you know it, He's coming right at you trying to put that thing back on you, and you go, well, what happened here? Well, or, I mean, you hear me telling you all the time that you've been made right with God, that you're the righteousness of God. You've been given the gift of righteousness. How many's got proof of that? How many can walk right out here and before long you've got something happening that's saying, uh-oh. Right? 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 So I'm saying there's this place we can live now that we're no longer shaken by whether it looks like it's working or not. We're no longer shaken by the whispers. And immediately He comes to steal, kill, and destroy. You're already grounded in this thing where it's not based on... I said it like this before. I said this to myself the other day. Faith. Faith is when the world we can't see becomes more of a reality than the world we can see. Faith. The world we can't see becomes more of a reality than the world we can see. That's why when faith starts working, you might look kooky sometimes. Now, I'm not into kooky. I'm not into flaky. I think that turns people off and you miss your opportunity totally to be flaky. I'm anti-flaky. Maybe too much so. Just because I know flaky turned me off so long, it kept me from the things of God. I base my opinion of God and His stuff by looking at people. Saying don't do that. God's good, and those people probably were flaky before they met God. I don't know how I got off on that, but listen to this. Listen to this. Because we've lived in some blessing, ain't we? We've been seeing it work, ain't we? And so much so that if we're not careful, we'll get to seeing it work. Then all of a sudden, when the enemy comes and tries to get us to prove it and put on a little pressure on, you with me? We all kind of get a little pouty about it. Oh, none of you guys, I guess. Right? I want it working right now. Don't you? So listen to this. I found this. James 1, 2. Consider it all joy, my brethren, when you encounter various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance. And let endurance have its perfect result, so that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. But if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives it to all generously and without reproach, and it will be given to him. But he must ask in faith, without any doubting. For the one who doubts is like the surf of the sea, driven and tossed by the wind. For that man ought not to expect that he will receive anything from the Lord, being a double-minded man, unstable in all his ways. Double-minded man. A double-minded man can expect to receive nothing from the Lord. A double-minded man, I'll put Jason's understanding in terms, a double-minded man can expect to receive nothing from his faith working for him. What's a double-minded man? We talked about it last week, right? Paul said, not be conformed to the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may prove what is the good and perfect acceptable will of God, right? You got born again, now you got two places you can gather information. Went into that last week. I'll try not to get hung up on that. You got a place you can get information from the natural, you can get information from the truth. We're renewing our minds to the truth. We're now gathering our information from the truth. The world we can't see is now where we gather our truth, not the world we can see. Right? Double-minded man. Double-minded man is gathering his information from both places. Double-minded man can expect to receive nothing from his faith working. Oh, you sit on the front row and sing Amazing Grace, and we can't wait for you to come. Sit around waiting on the trumpet. The reason we've been sitting around waiting on trumpets is because we've been getting our hind ends kicked. Because we've been double-minded. And we've not known what the will of God is. I'm telling you all this so that you can say, you know what, I'm no longer going to be double-minded. I do understand who I am, and I do believe what the will of God is, and I'm staying there. I'm going to occupy that place. I'm no longer going to be double-minded to where, yeah, the enemy can come fluff his stuff all he wants. He'll come immediately and try to steal that word. You with me? Yeah. When he comes now, you're going to be equipped. You don't have to say, well, I don't know, did it work or not? I don't. And he goes away laughing because he got your seed. Come on, is this helping anybody?
Yes. Yes.
We're no longer gathering our information from how things feel or look in the natural. We're now gathering our information from who He is and what He says about it. His will in heaven. His will in heaven for Jason is now my reality. If it ain't on Jason in heaven, it ain't on Jason here. Now he can come at me with all the stuff he wants to come at me. He's not shaking me anymore. You can throw up all the stats and the tests and the figures, facts, I don't care. Whatever. I know this is somewhat tough about this and militant about this, and I'm not talking to a room full of babies. Grace has put us in the place we can handle some more. We're no longer pouting, sucking our thumb. We're rising up into who we really are. And I'm telling you, there's a fight going on. And we're going to go, they sang the song. We're going to kick them rascals out of our towns. He said, you're going to live in houses you didn't build, drink from wells you didn't dig, eat from vineyards you didn't plant. Well, how are you going to get there? You ain't going to get there sitting around sucking your thumb. You ain't going to get there saying, farther along. That ain't going to get it. Sorry about your favorite song. But not really. I'm saying being rooted and grounded. Not shaken by whatever the devil fluffs up and bluffs. Tries to whisper in